Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining Axcient's product demo today. We look forward to having you all here with us. We're going to give everyone just a couple more minutes to take their virtual seats before we go ahead and get things started. I'm Olivia Gadera. I'm on Axcient's marketing team here, and I'm here with Axcient's Senior Sales Engineer, Marcus Williams. Again, we're going to give everyone just a couple more minutes to take their virtual seats before we go ahead and get things started. I see a lot of you are still joining, so thanks again for joining us. I do want to go over some housekeeping items. We really want to keep today's session interactive, so please feel free to utilize that questions tab to ask us any questions that you have. I'll be keeping an eye out on those, and I'll make sure at the end that we address all of your questions and answer all of those. But again, everyone, thank you so much for joining Axcient Simplify and Gain Profitability demo series. If you were here last, or I guess a few weeks ago, we had part one, deploying chain-free. Today's session is part two, securing data with local cache. So with that, again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to pass things over to Axcient Senior Sales Engineer, Marcus Williams.
All right, thank you, Olivia. So guys, thank you again for joining us today. This is part two of our series that we're going to be running for this quarter. In this session, we're going to talk about securing data with local cache. And this is really going to build on what we did last week, 2 weeks ago, in recovering from the backup that we set up. So we're going to hop right into the UI and get started here. Now, in our last call, as a quick review, we set up a company called Acme Healthcare. And within that company, we deployed an agent to our domain controller here. So we have that device checking in here, healthy and happy now. And for this call, we're really going to focus on securing or recovering that data from the vault, and especially with our local cache deployment that we set up. So for all recoveries, we're going to log into our vault UI here. From within this UI, this is where you're going to manage all of your offsite backups. We can search for that client that we created on our last call, and you can see we have the device here, checking in as expected. If I click on this device, we're going to have a lot of new information. So one thing to point out is that since this backup has been running, we have been doing auto verify checks against this device. So on a nightly basis, we've been providing screenshots showing that, hey, this last backup is successful, we can boot to the OS. In addition to providing these screenshots, we're also doing additional validation checks. So we're checking VSS, we're checking checklists to make sure we don't have any bad sectors within that UI. During that initial deployment, we set up our backup policy to back up on an hourly basis during business hours, 8 to 5, and to back up every 2 hours at night. The second thing that we set up is our local cache deployment. So we're targeting our local repository. I have a local NAS on my network. And instead of sending backups directly to the cloud, we're actually sending a copy to that local repository. Now, data sent to that local cache is going to be encrypted. So if I open up a Windows Explorer here and access that share, all right, there we go. We have that share available. And within these files, within this file structure, you can see that all of these files are encrypted. If I go within my backup files, we create a new folder every week. And within this folder, you can see those backups that we took according to that date. And again, within these folders, those files are encrypted as well. So everything's secure on your network, leveraging the local cache, whether that's a NAS device or USB storage. We can take any storage repository. Now back into our UI here, if I scroll down, clean up a bit here. All right. As we scroll down here, we have our snapshots. So these are the restore points that we've taken for the past 2 weeks. As you can see, we have quite a bit. With our chain-free backup technology, each of these restore points are unique from one another. So if I got hit with ransomware at 9 a.m., I can go to this 8 a.m. backup and restore that data unaffected by the virus. Again, we have no dependencies between these restore points at all. To the right, we have your actions. So we have your recovery options. The first type of recovery that we're going to talk about is our full image export from the vault. So here we can click on our export button, and this is going to give us the ability to download that point in time as a VMDK file for VMware, VAC file for Hyper-V. If you're running in Azure, we have a native Azure VAC that you can run. We have VDI and actually raw for KVM, VDI for box there, VirtualBox. So you can take these restore points and restore in any format that you need. In addition to that full image download, we're going to provide you with a mount feature. Our mount features are file and folder recovery. So if you're looking to recover an individual file, folder, doesn't matter, we can mount from any point in time, and we're going to expose that volume here within our built-in file browser. So we're going to mount and get us redirected here. Now, from this view, we're going to give you access to all the folders. Each client that you create within this UI is going to have its own folder. Within that folder, you're going to have exported VMs. So this is where you download your full image, your VHC or VMDK file. And also we have your mounted volumes folder. This is where you're going to access those granular file, that volume for file and folder recovery. So now I can navigate through the tree, identify what files and folders I'm looking for, right click on that and download that over the wire. These two options, again, are downloaded over the wire via HTTPS. And this is really good if you're downloading a single file or a small amount of data. If you have that scenario where you have to restore a full image from the vault, or let's say you're restoring a full volume, 500 gigs in size, you have that bulk download, we recommend that you leverage our network sharing feature and enable our FTPS server. By enabling our FTPS server, this allows you to use whatever FTP client that you're familiar with, whether that's WinSCP, FileZilla, and this will give you a more stable download as you download those bulk files. So if your internet hops, you lose connectivity, you can always resume where you picked up from. These are going to be your two options from the vault when it comes to recovery. Again, everything's downloaded, zipped up over the wire. We can download that via HTTPS, or we can use your FTP server client. Now, our third option is going to be our recovery center. This is an app that you download from the UI here, and this is an executable that you're going to install on any Windows device on that network. Once you have that recovery center program installed, like you see here, we're going to give you the ability to actually do recovery, whether that's from the vault or from the local share that we set up on a network, so your local cache. To initiate recovery, I'm going to start new recovery here. And we're going to provide you with our options. So we do give you an option for a bare metal restore. This is going to point you to our recovery toolkit. And this allows you to do a BMR over the network, leveraging the data we have in the local cache. So you never have to download that full image first. We can keep what you have locally on that cache location here, storage. In addition to doing the BMR, we can just do a virtual disk export. With this virtual disk export, again, we have the same functionality as before. We download the VMDK for EXI for VMware, VAC for Hyper-V. We offer that in multiple flavors, VAC, VACX. We also offer VDI for VirtualBox and raw for KVM here. So whatever format you need, we can kind of pull that from the vault or pull that from your local cache repository. In addition to being able to do a full export, we can do a file and folder recovery. So here it's really easy. We're just going to do file. We're going to select our client here, select our device. Going to click next, and now we're going to give you a list of our restore points. So I can go back, use our calendar to go back in time to any point in time in which we need to restore from. I can select that date in which we want to restore. Let's do the 10 a.m. one. Click next, and now I have an option. Hey, do I want to recover from the cloud or from the local cache repository? For this example, we're going to do the local cache. I'm going to browse to that share like we did before. Select my folder. At the bottom, I'm going to put in credentials for that share. And once I have this all entered, we'll click next. Validate those credentials. I'm going to select what volume I want to leverage. So I'm just going to put this on my Z volume here. It's going to do an iSCSI mount for us. And we'll start recovery. So really straightforward, really easy. And again, we're pulling from that local cache repository. See here. So what we're doing here, we're downloading the hash file. So we do require internet connectivity to use this tool, just for you to validate to our Cloud Key Management server and to download the instructions for the hash so we can decrypt the files in that local cache. This process takes us less than a minute. Here we're going to enable our SCSI. We're creating that volume. All right, and we're running. So we're up and running here, guys. So from here, open up Windows Explorer. I have my C on my computer here. Now I have the Z volume available. Open that up. I have access to those files and folders. And now I can do real restores back to that device that I'm on or to any other device on the network. So again, making restore really easy, really straightforward. So my desktop, a lot of good information here. With this local cache, we're constantly building this technology with this recovery center. So in the future, be on the lookout for virtualization through here as well. We're going to virtualize via Hyper-V. So hopefully have that available within the next couple of months to kind of provide you with a form of virtualization where you don't need an additional host. We can actually virtualize on the device that you're on here. So really neat technology, guys. And again, everything is managed through your portal here. And let me go back to it. All right. So everything's going to be managed through your portal here. And from these points in time, you have full access to those restore points where you can do quick and fast recovery, whether that's from the vault or if you're on a client's network, using our recovery center, we can recover that locally. With that, guys, we're going to end our demonstration for today. If we do have any questions about the recovery, we're going to use our remaining 5 to 10 minutes here to go over any questions that may have come up.
Yeah, we did get quite a bit of really good questions in here, Marcus. First one I want to address, one person asked, can I use any type of external storage for local cache?
Yes, so any storage, we do have specifications as far as our security that we need, but any storage, so that could be a USB drive, network attached storage, we just need somewhere to point on that network where we can keep those backups. So great question.
Awesome. We have another question here from James. If you select BMR in Recovery Center, does it create a bootable image or thumb drive?
All right, great question. So let's actually select BMR here. Now, what we're going to actually do, we're going to point you to our recovery toolkit within this BMR. So we're going to have you download this ISO. This ISO is what you're going to put on the USB drive, and you're going to plug that into your new or fixed hardware. From here, you're going to boot to USB, and we're going to put you in a GUI, a pre-boot environment. That actually allows you, from there, you can initiate your bare metal restore, and you're going to have an option to restore from a local cache, and it's going to point to that local cache repository and initiate your bare metal restore. So it is used, but really your main tool is going to be the bootable recovery toolkit, our recovery toolkit, which can be downloaded from the recovery center here or from your vault under downloads. It's going to be your last option here for all bare metal restores. And the cool thing about this bare metal restore is that we can restore to similar hardware. If you are deploying to dissimilar hardware, we give you a driver injection tool that allows you to add drivers and BIOS to kind of prep to that image to prep it before you do your first initial reboot. All right, great question.
Awesome. Looking through these.
Okay, and I have another one here from Jason. So in a true disaster scenario, you're unable to restore if you have no internet access. And that's going to be true. So with this recovery center, we do need some type of internet connectivity to do restore, even though if it's local. So if you have that scenario where you're at a client site, they lost internet connectivity, but you need to do local recovery from that local cache repository, we ask that you set up a mobile hotspot. We just need some type of connectivity to the internet so your team can validate when they log in here and also to our cloud key management system, and some way to download that hash key to kind of decrypt the files. So we recommend just a mobile hotspot. We don't need a fast connection. We're downloading a really small file and use for authentication there.
Chris also asked, do you recommend storage for local? Do you have a recommendation, I guess, for storage for local cache?
Yeah, you really don't have to worry about the IOPS, disk speed, and things like that, because we're really just storing those raw files. We're not doing any type of failover on that storage device. So you can use slow disk, 7K drives, doesn't matter, USB drive, NAS device. We're really open to whatever storage you have available.
Awesome. Another question I have here, you might have already touched on this. Can you back up Azure VMs?
Yes. So for Azure, and that's pretty cool. So Azure, we're going to leverage our direct cloud deployment to start an agent directly on that VM. Now within Azure, if you have the ability to set up a local cache repository, we can point to a repository within that environment, that Azure environment. But also when you do recovery, this is really key, and I'll switch back to this view here. And actually, let me show you here. Well, actually, let me go back and re-sign in. Not going to take me long. Re-authenticate here. So for Azure, Azure, even though it's a VHC file, it's a special type of VHC that runs in Azure. So we've developed a special export for those environments. So we can back up out of Azure, no problem. That's easy to do with our direct cloud. We're sending that data to our data center. When it's time for you to restore it back, we're going to have a special export for you here, and we'll wait for everything to load here. All right, okay. If I have the export here. But here we go. So we have a VHC for Azure. So you're going to use this special export, and this is going to export that point in time in Azure's native format for that VHC, so it runs directly within that hosted environment. So you don't have to make any changes on the back end. This VM is prepped to run in that environment natively within Azure for you.
Awesome. Let me see here. I think we've gotten through most of these questions here. If anyone does have any other follow-up questions, I'll be sending out an email later today with a recording of today's session, as well as my contact information. So if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll make sure to get you in touch with the right person. And again, we'll include that recording link. But again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I will announce the winner of that $100 Amazon gift card. So that's going to be going out to Chris Porosky. So congratulations, Chris. We'll be sending out that $100 gift card to you. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate all the good questions. And Marcus, thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Take care, guys. Thank you for your time.